Bring in weather specialist Nora Fott. Hey, Nora.
Hey, thanks very much, Nathaniel. Before we talk about how dreary it's been, how cold it's been, let's first talk about the good stuff. The sun now setting in Toronto at 4:55 p.m., so gaining about a minute of sunlight each day, and that's, I think, something to look forward to as you probably sit right now warming your feet by the fire in a heavy sweater indoors. It's been cold, but the past few days the big story has been that the mercury doesn't tell the full picture. In Toronto, -3 could feel closer to -10 when you factor in the wind chill. In Ottawa and Kingston, even more frigid, especially as well as you head towards Timmins. We've been seeing quite a lot of snow rolling through the GTHA on and off, and that's thanks to those snow squalls that have been non-stop since Wednesday, burying parts of Ontario into 60, if not more, centimeters of snow, and still counting. You can see some of those snow squalls activity are still disorganized thanks to some shifting winds. We've seen the weather alerts clear, but that doesn't mean that the activity is over just yet. Tonight, we're still seeing some of that around the Waterloo region into London, Ontario as well, but heading into early Monday, those winds start to shift now from the northeast, and that sends that snow away from Ontario, and it could even mean some sunny breaks into cottage country in the morning and eventually into the GTHA later on in the afternoon. But by Monday evening, here they are back again, expecting some more accumulations for parts of southwestern Ontario, and we'll talk about that more in the full forecast. -9 in Toronto could feel closer to the minus double digits. In Kingston, closer to -20 with the wind chill. And tomorrow, temperatures taking a tumble once again. That Arctic air makes a return. Your high at -7 in the afternoon. Nate?
Thank you, Nora. So for the past few days, we've been talking about different weather hitting across the country and in the U.S. as well. Cold in some parts, lots of storms in the other. How bad has it gotten, and how long will each of these storm fronts last?
Yeah, well, when we talk about the Arctic air specifically, it's gripped large parts of the country, Nate, and for the prairies, especially those wind chills nearing the -40 at times, there is relief in the forecasts. The question is, how long will it last? Let's take a look. Well, despite seeing some seasonal temperatures today, the day before in Toronto as well, tomorrow brings another taste of Arctic air. Your high at -7 degrees. And when you factor in the wind chill, which will be quite windy throughout the course of the day, we're looking at things feeling like -15 by the afternoon. That Arctic air being felt by large portions of the country, as we mentioned. Take a look at the trough being formed by the polar jet. This is sending that cold air all the way down towards parts of the Maritimes, Atlantic Canada, and we are seeing some relief as early as tomorrow in western sections of the prairies, from -11 in Calgary to -1 by your Monday. But now that Arctic air digging deeper past the Midwest into the southwest of the United States and through parts of New England as well, heading into the start of your work week. We got a taste of winter in more ways than one. The snow squalls have been non-stop since Wednesday, and initial estimates by Environment Canada show that about 56 centimeters of snow had fallen in the Barrie region. That's just until Friday. We know an additional about 13 to 15 may have fallen in that region just yesterday, and we're still counting, considering those snow squalls won't be done just yet in the coming week, although we will get a brief break. And that break rolls in tomorrow. So we're going to see some shifting winds from the northeast, and take a look at where that snow is going now, away from the province very briefly. That's going to mean some sunny breaks in cottage country in the morning, Toronto by the afternoon, and here we are by the evening, back again to those winds from the north, and those snow squalls return London into Chatham. And this is a situation that'll keep on coming Tuesday into Wednesday as well. So while large viewing regions in cottage country around Kingston, around the GTHA get some sunny breaks, Tuesday and Wednesday will be a whole lot more snow for southwestern Ontario, areas like Barrie as well. Now, these are just initial estimates, and of course we can't count as far as the middle of the week, but we could see 2 additional centimeters in Barrie by Tuesday. Still looking at more snow potentially into your Wednesday as well. -13 in Sault Ste. Marie tomorrow, 3 in Windsor, -3. Don't want to mess that up. Tomorrow, -7 in Belleville, and a cold -9 in Muskoka. Here we are taking a look at the middle of the week, still seeing that Arctic air by -8 for your Wednesday, and things start to feel closer to normal Friday, Saturday into Sunday, but heading into the 3rd week of January, January, don't be surprised if we get 1 or 2 blasts of Arctic air, sending our daytime highs a few degrees below seasonal. Our overnights should feel closer to normal.
Farms in Michigan are accepting old Christmas. East Coast are experiencing a fierce blast of winter, part of a deep freeze that's affecting so many people on both sides of the border. In Newfoundland, expect heavy snow and possible flooding along the coast. The Maritimes could see up to 30 centimeters of snow, especially in Cape Breton and PEI. Manitoba, meanwhile, and parts of the north are under extreme cold warnings with wind chills near -40. There's also a snow squall warning in parts of Ontario earlier this weekend, along with blowing snow expected in parts of Quebec. Environment Canada warns blowing snow reduces visibility to near zero, creating dangerous conditions for travelers. Time now for our first look at the forecast. Let's bring in weather specialist Nora Fott. Hey, Nora.
Hey, thanks very much, Nathaniel. Well, what a fabulous shot of the Toronto Harbor tonight, one that you should probably enjoy indoors, because if you were outside right now, you'd probably be shivering. Let me step out and show you the most important stuff. That gorgeous skyline, -3 degrees outside the Toronto airport. Not bad at all. But is it feeling like -3 though? No, it's not. -7 with the wind chill. Really, the Arctic air has been gripping large parts of the province, and that has been a big problem, but not the biggest problem. We've been seeing relentless snow squalls since Wednesday for large parts of Ontario, and that has buried some areas into upwards of 60 centimeters of snow. Today brought significant improvements, with those snow squalls starting to quickly ease heading into the afternoon and evening, but that doesn't mean it's over just yet. Yes, our weather alerts have cleared for a while. We could see those snow squalls kicking right back up as early as next week. Tomorrow, though, improved conditions in the morning. We're going to see a shift from the winds you can see now from the northeast, and that will send that snow away from the province very briefly. It will bring some sunny breaks to the Toronto region, but by the evening hours, you can see here comes those snow squalls into London, Ontario, Chatham, around parts of Huron County as well. But the good news for all my fellow stargazers, Oshawa up towards Quinte West, you could see some incredible viewing conditions for some stars later tomorrow night. Not a bad night tonight in Toronto, -9, although very cloudy. And as we head into the morning hours of tomorrow, still sticking with that cloud cover, some sunny breaks in the afternoon, as I mentioned. Temperatures still suffering, though, -7 your high. Nate?
Thank you, Nora. New York City has launched the first congestion price. Okay, so cold air across most of the country, making life not a lot of fun for a lot of Canadians. If you're watching, hopefully you're somewhere warm or bundle up at some point. When does this get any better, Nor?
Yeah, $1 million question, Nathaniel, and it really depends on where you're situated. We saw the first week of January done and dusted the Arctic air, or the winter, back with a vengeance for many. The second week of January not looking great for the start, but relief is on the way. Let's take a look. Well, despite seeing seasonal temperatures today, the day before in Toronto as well, tomorrow, though, we'll start to see temperatures taking a hit once again. -7 is the best we can do in terms of a high, but when you factor in the wind chill, which will be pretty windy, by the way, especially in the morning, -17 is what we're expecting it to feel like when you factor those winds in. There are some sunny breaks, very few, but something to look forward to amid that cold. And speaking of the cold, the polar jet forming a trough right here in the jet stream, and you can see where the Arctic air has been situated. That polar vortex has caused quite a bit of problems. The polar vortex is always there all the time around the North Pole. It's an area of cold air very high up in the atmosphere. But when that polar vortex expands, well, it can look something like this. The cold air starts to move south in areas where it's not usually situated. And this time around, it's really been causing quite the frigid conditions in the prairies, extending east, even parts of Atlantic Canada feeling those minus double digits today. Tomorrow, relief in the forecast, especially for western parts of the prairies. -11 in Calgary turns to -1, but you can see that Arctic air still digging deep southwest of the U.S., into the Midwest as well, and into parts of New England, and again making a comeback in Toronto. The snow squalls, though, have been also the big story the past couple of days, and we've seen some serious accumulations burying communities around Lake Simcoe, for example. And these are just the latest estimates that we have up until Friday. We know more than potentially 13 to 15 centimeters could have fallen in the Barrie area alone just yesterday, and we're still counting because we're not expecting those snow squalls to be done just yet, although this time around the totals will be a bit more unforgiving, it seems. So tomorrow, I mentioned a bit of a break from those snow squalls very briefly as those winds transition to the northeast. By the evening hours, they are back again in southwestern Ontario, and Tuesday we start to see those snow squalls active once again in the Barrie region. That'll take its time before moving out, heading into your Wednesday. All while that happens, we're going to see some sunny breaks along large parts of cottage country into the GTHA, approaching Niagara Falls, Milton as well. So a mixed bag when it comes to those conditions, and totals still initial estimates here, but we could see around 10 additional centimeters or so towards the southern shores of Georgian Bay. Temperatures will be on the mend in the coming days, as I mentioned. We're going to have to wait a little while longer in Toronto. That'll be as early as next weekend when we start to see things level out closer to normal, but don't be fooled by these conditions. Heading into the third week of January, we could see that Arctic air make a comeback for daytime highs to dip down 1 or 2 degrees below average. Your overnights, though, staying mild.
Thanks so much, Noor. The Toronto Maple Leafs were in action for the second